Because of a technical issue, we're going to start over. Good morning and welcome to a meeting of the Subcommittee of Zoning and Franchises. I am Councilmember Lynn Schulman, and I will be the acting chair of the subcommittee today because Councilmember Kevin Riley, who is the appointed chair of the subcommittee, cannot be here. I'm joined by council members Yusef Salam, David Cork, Camilla Hanks, and virtually by Francisco Moya. Today, we are scheduled to have one hearing regarding a proposed mixed-use residential development known as 102-51 Queens Boulevard. Before discussing this proposal, I will first go over the hearing procedures. This meeting is being held in hybrid format. Members of the public who wish to testify may testify in person or via Zoom. Members of the public wishing to testify remotely may register by visiting the New York City Council website at www.council.nyc.gov/land use to sign up, or for those of you who are here in person, please see one of the Sergeant-at-Arms to prepare and submit a speaker card. Members of the public may also view a live stream broadcast of this meeting at the Council's website. When you are called to testify before the subcommittee, if you are joining us remotely, you will remain muted until recognized by myself to speak. When you are recognized, your microphone will be unmuted. We will limit public testimony to 2 minutes per witness. If you have additional testimony that you would like the subcommittee to consider, or if you have written testimony that you would like to submit instead of appearing in person, please email it to landusetestimony@council.nyc.gov. Written testimony may be submitted up to 3 days after the hearing is closed. Please indicate the LU number and/or project name in the subject line of your email. We request that witnesses joining us remotely remain in the meeting until excused by the chair, as council members may have questions. Lastly, for everyone attending today's meeting, this is a government proceeding and decorum must be observed at all times. Members of the public are asked not to speak during the meeting unless you are testifying. The witness table is reserved for people who are called to testify, and no video recording or photography is allowed from the witness table. Further, members of the public may not present audio or video recordings as testimony, but may submit transcripts of such recordings to the Sergeant-at-Arms for inclusion in the hearing record. I will now open the public hearing on LUs 269 and 270 related to the 102-51 Queens Boulevard rezoning proposal, which is located in my district, specifically in Forest Hills. The proposal is seeking a rezoning to develop a mixed-use residential development with approximately 216 apartments. The proposal also involves the mapping of mandatory inclusionary housing, and approximately 54 of the apartments would be affordable. As many of you know, affordable housing is one of the most important issues in my district and something I have advocated for since joining the council. I look forward to hearing more about this project and continuing to work constructively with the applicant team. For anyone wishing to testify regarding this proposal remotely, if you have not already done so, you must register online by visiting the council's website at council.nyc.gov/land use. For anyone with us in person, please see one of the Sergeants-at-Arms to submit a speaker card. If you would prefer to submit written testimony, you can always do so by emailing it to landusetestimony@council.nyc.gov. I will now call the applicant panel for this proposal, which consists of Eric Palatnik. Council, please administer the affirmation.
Good morning. Thank you for raising your right arm. Could you please state your name for the record?
Eric Palatnik.
You swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth in your testimony today and your response to council member questions?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. For the viewing public, if you need an accessible version of this presentation, please send an email request to landusetestimony@council.nyc.gov. And now the applicant team may begin, and I'll just ask you to please restate your name and organization for the record.
Sure. Eric Palatnik, Eric Palatnik PC, law firm representing QBM Properties, 102-51 Queens Boulevard. And thank you very much, Councilmember Schulman. It's been a pleasure to work within your district and with your board and with your office, and we're happy to be here today. And it's a pleasure to be here with you as well, Councilmember. I'm a huge fan of yours, and I'm very respectful of your plight, so to speak, and what you've been through and what you've achieved in your life. You're a big encouragement to me, so thank you very much for being here today. We're here today for 102-51 Queens Boulevard, which is a proposed rezoning from an R71 to an R8XC24 zoning district located within Queens Community Planning Board 9. Six, excuse me, I just a little upside down. We met with Community Planning Board 6, and they were very supportive of the application, and we've also appeared before the Borough President, who is supportive as well. Next slide, please. The proposal, as Councilmember Shulman mentioned a moment ago, would allow, on the right-hand side of the screen, you could see what's proposed, and it would allow for a 17-story, 175-foot tall, mixed-use building. It would include approximately 216 units, 54 of which would be affordable. Queens Boulevard, as many of you know, and I'm sure Councilmember Lynn Shulman knows better than anybody, is tremendously underdeveloped and has been for the past century, half century since I've been alive. It's encumbered by predominantly one-story buildings, as you see in the lower left corner here, and behind it on the side streets, and an anomaly of land use, are the taller buildings. And that's sort of the pattern up and down Queens Boulevard. And the reason for that is simply because the zoning does not allow for a developer to create anything economically viable while still developing the property under the current zoning. So the proposed rezoning to an R8X will be able to activate this property. It'll allow for the developer to create the building we just proposed. If allowed, it will have 85 studios, 85 one-bedrooms, 23 two-bedrooms, and 23 three-bedrooms. It would also have 87 parking spaces. Next slide, please. The next slide shows you what the zoning district is proposed to be. The left side shows you an R71 that was enacted in 1961. On the right side, you can see the R8X that's proposed. Go to the next slide. Next slide shows you a comparison in height of the buildings that can be constructed. The existing zoning allows for the building that you see on the left-hand side, which would be an 8-story building, and it would allow for 111 units. This doubles the amount of units. Next slide, please. The next slide just summarizes everything we just spoke about. And go to the next slide. This slide shows you a good depiction of what I described a few moments ago about the pretty much as-built characteristic of all of Queens, a lot of Queens Boulevard, which is buildings that predate 1961 that are one story with the taller buildings behind. That's what the rezoning is here to change, and we're hoping that you would support it. Next slide. The next slide shows you the design of the building and talks about a little bit about its attributes. What's important to note is that the building's design plays into Queens Boulevard, which curves at this juncture, which is why you see the building juxtaposing in its setbacks in different heights and different depths. And the reason for that is to play into the curvature of Queens Boulevard and the fact that the roadway goes up at this point. Next slide. The next slide just gives you an elevation of the building, and I'll skip past that, go to the next one, it's not that exciting. The next slide shows you what's gone on around us through the years. So although the building here is taller than some people would say the buildings behind us, which they are, it's not taller than the buildings that have been built, substantial buildings that have been built in the last half a century up and down Queens Boulevard. Unfortunately, most of the buildings you're looking at in this picture were built 30, 40 years ago. Very few of them were built in the last decade, if any. I think just one maybe down by Yellowstone. Next slide. Next slide just shows you what we've just been talking about, so we'll pause there. I think we could pretty much clip ahead to, if you can, 1, 2, 3, 3 slides till we get to neighborhood demographics. I think it's page 13. So this is just very interesting to give you an idea. This is taken from the census. It describes to you that it's in the lower left corner, the foreign-born population here is 47%. The top right corner, housing units have increased by only 3.1, while the population in this area has increased more than double, 6.9%. So what this whole sheet is telling you is what you already know, which the council member spoke to. If you go to the next slide. This shows you something that's very interesting. Again, the same thing, it just sort of maps it all out for you. The next slide is the one I really wanted to show you. Go to the next slide. Actually, I'm very impressed by Lynn's district. The council members' district here, this slide shows, has 271 affordable housing units. Of all of the land use applications that I make to the city council, this is one of the higher numbers that I've seen in the entire city. Most of them are in the single digits. So the council member's done a very good job of creating affordable housing within the district, and this would add to it. Right now, there are 271 units, and we're going to add an additional 54. So, and you can see on the top right of this, the map, all the different units that have been created.
Does that 271 also include the new
You know, I'm doing the math right now in my head while you're
tower,
saying that.
where the tower diner was, that new?
No, you're
development
talking
there?
about 9881 Michael Abramovich. No, I don't know if it does.
Yeah.
So there's probably
So that'll be more.
Yeah, which is really impressive. I mean, just to revert from the presentation, I cannot tell you enough. Everybody says they want affordable housing. Every time I walk into most of my applications, and staff can attest to this, there's none in most other districts. So you're creating it, and it's to be applauded, because as you can see from 9881, as soon as it went up, it's leasing right up. People are eager for it. Everybody loved the Tower Diner, but everybody also loves that there's housing available. This gives you the next page, please. Gives you the breakdown of the affordability units. It's everything we just spoke about, so I'm not going to go there. And then the unit distribution. I'll pause here with my presentation, because I think that pretty much sums it all up, and be happy to answer any questions anybody has.
Thank you very much. And to Mr. Palatnik's point, a large part of Queens Boulevard is underdeveloped, and what he was showing you is that a lot of the property there is one story. So there's really potential there for affordable housing and for units and everything else. So I want to thank you for that. I have a question about the commercial space. Have you had conversations with the existing commercial? Is there just the one tenant there?
No, there's a couple of different tenants. There's an urgent care there, and there's the restaurant there. The restaurant will be coming back. The restaurant is owner-occupied. The applicant is actually the operator of the restaurant. And all the other tenancies have been given the chance to come back. Nobody has decided yet. It's still a couple of years away from going into the ground. So, but everybody's been given the chance.
How many commercial spaces do you anticipate in the new development? Just a couple?
Two or three or four. Yeah. It's about 17,000 square feet. So,
is the proposed amount of parking primarily for resident use or accessory to the commercial
residents?
space?
One thing we are learning from talking to the owners in 9881 is that although, and you know it better than I do, although you are part of suburban New York City, and although you are incredibly well accessed with mass transit, people in your community have cars and they use them, and they like it, and it's not just a luxury, it's a requirement for them.
Are you able to make design changes toward the community board recommendations to improve the aesthetics of the rear facade?
The community board, we tried to explain to them, and we showed you on the renderings, that the building is set back quite a bit. I don't have the dimension in front of me, but nearly, I think, 30 or 40 feet from the residence to the rear. Those are the 6-story apartment buildings we were speaking about. This building has been designed incredibly well, and it's the design that we portrayed to you is on all 4 sides of the buildings. Some buildings will just do a nice design on the front,
right.
You know, like a fence between yards. Somebody gets the crummy side. Here, everybody is getting the nice side of the building. So we did try to convince them of that. I don't know if they were agreeable to it, but we believe that should address their concerns.
Okay. Do you have MWBE hiring and contracting targets for the project aligned with the borough president's recommendation?
Yes.
Okay. Another question I have about the jobs that this project will create is whether the applicant plans on engaging with labor unions to meet the wage requirements of the state's 485X tax exemption.
We plan on having prevailing wages in compliance with the 485 tax abatement program. But we've also already engaged conversations with Local 32BJ, who is here today for building services, that will give their people or people who are working employed at the building to be constructed the right to unionize should they desire and join 32BJ, and they'll speak further to that.
Have you given any thought to providing supportive housing as suggested by Community Board 6? And you can tell us, I know that we had a conversation about this, about how the apartments are designed for people with disabilities too. You can mention that as
Yes, thank you for refreshing my memory. Of course, apartments are required to be built with a certain percentage, with all of them actually, with ADA accessibility requirements. So that's not the issue. The bigger issue that they asked for is to have supportive housing units within the building, and that's not possible. There's no program in place that would allow for that to occur. As you know, we worked very closely in your district in Parkway Hospital,
Yeah.
which is being constructed right now, and we're 7 years, I think we're 8 years later to try to create
not
the
you, that's
supportive
HPD, but
senior
yes.
housing. So it is, and that was a building that was existing already. So it's a difficult process, and you really have to have the opportunity to support it financially. Parkway Hospital, as you know, had an income-producing component to it with a market rate building next to it, so it allowed for the offset. This doesn't have that setup.
Maybe we can have that conversation moving forward with, in that district, because I know it's difficult, because there's no city land there and all of that, but maybe there's a,
Well, I like that model. We're working on that in a few districts
Okay.
right now, so I believe
so
in
we
it.
can have that conversation. That's great. I now invite my colleagues to ask questions. Oh, and I want to acknowledge that we've been joined by Councilmember Abreu. No, you're good? Okay. Council, are there any members of the public who wish to testify remotely or in person? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, you're free to.
Thank you.
Council, are there any members of the public who wish to testify remotely or in person regarding this proposal?
Yes, we have one member of the public who wishes to testify, and so far no one online.
Pat Lafon, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Okay. Before you start, for members of the public here to testify, please note that witnesses will generally be called in panels of 3 if there are 3 to be here. If you are a member of the public signed up to testify, please stand by when you hear your name being called and prepare to speak when I indicate that you may begin. Please also note that once all panelists in the group have completed their testimony, if remotely, you will be removed from the meeting as a group, and the next group of speakers will be introduced. Once removed, participants may continue to view the live stream broadcast of this hearing on the council website. Members of the public will be given 2 minutes to speak. Please do not begin until the Sergeant-at-Arms has started the clock. And so we have Pat Mafon, who's joined us at the witness table. You may begin.
Good morning, Chair Schulman and all members of the subcommittee. My name is Pat McCann, and I am here today representing SEIU Local 32BJ. 32BJ is the largest union of property service workers in the country, representing over 175,000 members across 13 states, including tens of thousands of commercial property service workers, security officers, and residential building staff in New York City. 32BJ supports responsible developers who invest in the communities where they build. I'm happy to report that the developers of this proposed project have made a credible commitment to creating prevailing wage jobs for the workers who will permanently staff the buildings. We estimate that this rezoning will allow for the creation of 4 property service jobs. Good jobs like these mean prevailing wages, meaningful benefits, and a pathway to the middle class for local community members who tend to fill such positions. Moreover, we need more housing to be built in every neighborhood of New York City to ensure that working families are not displaced by dwindling supply and skyrocketing rents. The proposed development will include 216 residential units, approximately 54 of which will be permanently income restricted for low to middle income residents. As the cost of living rises and working New Yorkers struggle to stay in their homes, it is more important now than ever to create affordable housing and good jobs which uphold the industry standard in the city. For all these reasons, 32BJ is in strong support of the 102-51 Queens Boulevard rezoning. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. If there are anybody have questions for this panel? No? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We appreciate that. If there are any members of the public who wish to testify regarding this rezoning proposal remotely, please press the raise hand button now, or if you are in person, please identify yourself to one of the sergeants. Oh, we'll pause for 30 seconds to make sure that there's nobody else to testify. There being no other members of the public who wish to testify in LUs 269 and 270 related to the 102-51 Queens Boulevard rezoning proposal, the public hearing is now closed and the items are laid over. Wait. Oh, sorry. This concludes today's business. I would like to thank the members of the public, my colleagues, subcommittee council, land use, and other council staff, and the Sergeant at Arms for participating in today's meeting. This meeting is hereby adjourned.
Thank you.
Oh, that was quick.
Very good, right?